Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is Wednesday. You're supposed to be working. What are you doing? Hey.
Yeah. It's lunchtime for a lot of people.
I don't know what you are doing, but I'm glad you're here.
Or it's evening for our Theron after work.
You're getting pretty good at your time-telling skills.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. Linux Gamecast has a way of doing that too.
How's it going, everybody? It's Canada Day.
Oh, hey, Brother Jellybean. Like, he's on his lunch break, I'm sure.
I don't know. Some people, you could just like, yo, you know what? I'm going to celebrate Canada. You're not going to deal with it.
Canada gatekeeping.
Right? I want to be Canadist.
Oh. Our Theron, I've got a new mug. This one is they used a raster graphic, but two low resolution ones, so it looks all pixely. That's why this mug was cheap. But it is cool. It's got cool artwork. It's got lots of the distros on it. It's got, Knoppix and Ubuntu and Tiny Cores on there, which I was happy. But it's funny because I have this bitmap I had downloaded from the internet, a much higher resolution one, mind you, that they could have used. So that's why this mug was cheap, and it was a Teespring mug. So,
they probably used that one. It's
Amazon.
just that when they scaled it down, they did it as JPEG.
Well, you got to consider if you're just heading over to the
Yeah.
internet and yoinking random graphics that are probably trademarked to put on your product and sell for profit. Yeah, you don't really, quality doesn't get factored in. Someone's going to find it.
Well, I didn't know, because of course on the picture on Amazon it shows it at high resolution. So I was a bit depressed, but it was under $10, so I'm not complaining too much.
Send it back. It's Amazon. Be like, Amazon, take it away.
I could just make my own.
That's why I love Amazon, man. There's plenty of reasons not to love Amazon, but when they're shipping, they got that right,
Yes.
That's definitely one of the things. Pedro, I need something new to watch.
Rampage. That movie with The Rock. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
I saw that. That put it on my watch list. I still need to go back and watch it. I've been watching anime, mostly because I went through everything I wanted to see on Netflix, and now I'm just tracking Snowpiercer as the episodes are coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's been my background noise has been like anime show. I go on Crunchyroll, sort by number of episodes, and play. Unless its name is Naruto, at which point, no.
Oh yeah. That's fun. Steve and I have just been watching lots of Star Trek reruns lately. I have some new stuff in our queue, but we're just enjoying watching Happy Star Trek right now.
Do you wear sneakers, Pedro?
Not lately.
Well, you got the
Since
boots,
I got the
right,
boots.
right.
But I used to a lot. That was literally all I ever wore.
What would you think of maybe a pair of
Little Snickers with the actual colors too. That's amazing. If they made like the skate sneakers versions of that, absolutely,
cool.
I'd wear them.
I kind of want a pair.
Like the flat sole ones, yeah, absolutely.
No one would know what they are here.
Yeah, I don't. I like the colors, but
It's little German. I think it's German originally.
I just couldn't. Oh. Yes.
is it based off a show or a series or something?
No, think of an Aldi's.
No, it's
a store.
Oh,
Yeah, like a really
okay.
budget store that has a lot of stuff that for the countries, all of the countries that it's in, which is most of Europe,
Okay.
it has a lot of products that no other stores sell. And they're all pretty cheap.
Like a Big Lots. Okay.
Totally, yes. And yeah, one of the things that I always used to get in Little was the white chocolate with Rice Krispies in it, because that's the only place that they sold it at, and it was so good. I'm not a big fan of chocolate, but white chocolate, gimme.
Oh, same here, Pedro, because I like vanilla. And Nestle made one, but you can't find them anymore, and I think they've discontinued it, and I was really bummed about that.
So what do you want the Rice Krispies in your chocolate? Do you want like the sensation of eating insects? Like, while you...
It's mostly because the Rice Krispies are less sweet than the white chocolate. It's a nice contrast, and they're crispy.
Yeah,
I don't like dark chocolate.
Every kind of chocolate I like, it always gets discontinued because it's never popular because it has lots of vanilla in it.
There is one kind of regular milk chocolate that I like that hasn't been discontinued yet, which is the stupidly expensive milk hazelnut, like whole hazelnuts one.
Yeah, I like
those
Milka.
are really nice.
Never had this
Hi,
stuff. I'm
Artherin.
good.
Did you see my mug earlier, Artherin? I showed it to you. And smile to her. Artherin hugs and smiles. Aw. Hello, Daisy. Hello, Mir.
So today I'm going to be rocking
Steve
and rolling with a
husband.
multi-track local setting going over the network. In the studio, we're going to be legitimately pushing a 10 gigabit fiber line. That's going to be fun. If anything goes horribly wrong, you know the drill.
Put fire emojis in chat,
Correct.
as usual.
And I do look forward to, now that I've said that, people, you'll have theory problems. Like, well, I think this sounds different.
Yeah, fire emoji on standby. There we go. And Artherin, are we talking price here? And also, does it involve tongue, or is it just a peck on the lips?
You got to learn the right way to get somebody to do something, Arthur. And if you badger them with it, very, very quickly it becomes, I'm not doing that out of principle. Like, this is not going to happen now. You messed up.
I'm not French enough for tongue. All right. How dare you?
Yeah, Daisy. So they do make candy that isn't chocolate. That's just vanilla malt. And you can find it in sometimes Easter bunnies at Easter time. It's malt or milk.
Vanilla malt beer. If you can find one, try it. I had one swig and said, oh God, no.
I was about to say, that sounds horrible.
It's so sweet, like, oh God.
Sweetness is not like every now and then. We're talking like once a decade. I might be able to tingle with a cider occasion, but it's too much, man. It's like, I like the concept of the malts, the Smirnoffs, the ices and stuff like that. But they need to make them in shot size. That's all I want, man. I'm like, okay, that wasn't bad, but I don't want another one of them, like sip of those. Because my body does
like
not
proper
know what to do
bitter
with it
malt
much.
beer is good, but vanilla malt. Ooh.
I mean, you could see like a little bit, like a hint of vanilla, maybe in a stout, possibly.
Yes.
Yeah. And that looks like every other post on our mechanical keyboards.
It do look like keys, don't they?
Artesian keys, that's their thing now. They figured out how to do basic molding. It's cute. I visit them once a week. I'm like, oh, what are we up to this week? And it's their thing, man. Everybody's got like weird hobbies, and I'm down with it 100%. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, beer's beer. People have we've definitely been through the past decade of the phase of like, let's throw everything in and see what sticks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't mind, the hopsy beers. But there is, some beers that kind of push the hopsiness a little bit. Just a bit. If they weren't for the fact that they were cheap. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for something to enjoy, to sit back, or versus something like, you know what, I just need you to do it. One thing, buddy.
Yeah, these are really nice, and the hopsiness do give it that fresh taste. But you get to the end of a can, it's like, we're done with hops for another couple of days. Oh,
overwhelming.
Yeah.
I never could get. Occasionally, there's a beer I like. Like I have a friend that makes beer, and I've liked some of his, the sweeter ones. That were malt. One was malt beer.
Ghost Ship.
Yeah, anything you can just take. If you got a funnel at the house, you could take regular beer and just, I don't know, put 5 or 6 things of just straight processed granulated sugar in it. You'd be able to choke it down.
Have you ever done that? Because that makes the beer all goopy.
Ew. Yeah, it would take a while for the crystals to. Yeah.
And that's over.
Aw. It had a good run, man.
Yeah.
We're going to be sticking that together. And what do we got? We got 2 minutes. So if anybody needs to get up, do it.
Nope. Okay. Be right back.
I'm gonna go get some water.
Ben's turn to be a morale czar.
You know, as much as it just sounded like Pedro went into his kitchen and was attacked, I know that's not going to happen. He's not going to come back battle-scarred, possibly with the head of his foe. Nay, this will not be the case. He will merely... I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's definitely not a thing. But we can dream. So... we're still playing If You Didn't Catch the Saturday Show. I got one of these. Actually, I got 2 of these. It's a definite maybe, Scott? I don't know, man. I don't... Like I said, don't get your hopes up. I am more impressed by Tingy Tech's tins for their fiber optic modules than anything else. I like these tins. I don't have anything to put in them. But these are really nice tins. Like maybe Mentos.
You're still keeping the tins?
Dude. Well, hey, yes, you keep tins, you monster. I mean, you don't just throw transceivers in a bag. Like, I totally don't have a bag of transceivers. So what went out of that kitchen? What mighty war was fought? And lands conquered?
It was just me was squishing the can.
Okay, because it really sounded like, I don't know. The cutler was in there awaiting you. And he was like, finally, Mateus, you've arrived. And you guys went at it.
No, it was literally just me squishing the can and then tossing it in the bin with the other cans.
Mm. Let's get that on the right page. Okay, Adora, I'm using your built-in monitors, so don't bite me on this. Or do. It might be hilarious. That room would burn up so quick. I mean, you wouldn't stand a chance.
Well, if we ever do decide to make that into a movie, I'd call it Conflagration.
I tend to assess the flammability of my surroundings.
Yeah, no, see, Nori decided to take issue with the fact that Jill has all the plushies behind her.
So you put some stuff on a desk back there and didn't light it properly? Ooh, deep cut.
Ooh. Oh, I see a penguin.
Yeah.
There you go. Yay, Pedro.
Well, you better get that stuff off the table for Saturday and bring back our Dark Souls fighting, because Jordan and I are working out a backstory for the different moves that, you know, what's taken place during each week.
Okay. Again, all credit to that goes to Nori.
All right, let me get something to drink and we'll get into it.
Yes.
Okay. When we left Pedro, I was telling Ven to be the morale czar. So I don't know what happened.
So you want the entire audience to turn into goths?
Yeah, I know. I know. A good one. He made the morale lower.
Well, Arthur, and I think you know what I've been playing lately. I posted the screenshot of Lutris earlier.
Oh, yeah.
It was a game that I liked because even the pay-to-win people had issues winning against me, so it made me feel very, very good about my my gaming skills. Mm-hmm. And now that there's no pay-to-win anymore, I basically get my ass handed to me a lot.
Aw, Arthur. And so we played golf with your friends on Friday, and so I actually played a little bit of that over the weekend. And Ark Survival Evolved, and I want to continue more quadrilateral. Oh, of course, it's the morning, so I need to talk.
You added a syllable where there was no.
Quadrilateral cowboy. God, that's a hard word for me to say in the morning.
Quadrilateral.
Yeah. Can't wake up. Quadrilateral. There we go. I had no problem with it normally.
From the Latin quadro, which means four.
Yeah. Quadro. You're sober.
So, Steve, there's your homework for next week. You need to get Jill sauced up before she starts doing the podcast.
Maybe that would help. I don't know. Actually, it might. I need to pick me up.
There we go. Look forward to next week. Just saying.
Do, 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 do. I always like this song. Cheerios and bourbon. My boo can make me a Midori Sours, like at Matthew's house.
All right, everyone. We locked and loaded and ready to go to.
Okay. Goated.
I can't make that joke.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You know what, Pedro? I was giving you the pause because I had faith in you to see if you could work something out of that. But
I did, but it's not appropriate.
Yeah, you see, that's the easy one. You got to work. You got to power through that. And like, is there anything? All right. So,
Well, this is just a goat simulator, right?
I'm just gonna say goat simulator and leave it at that.
Yeah.
Right? We are locked in, ready to go. So, let's do a show in 3, 2, and welcome back to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays, where we sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things we found going on in the world of open source, big ones, and other mysterious, terrifying things. I am Vince Stone, that is Joe Bryant, and over there is one Pedro Mateus, joined every week with you live at home in chat. Man, lots and lots of stuff going on. We got a new month. It is the month of the July, according to the Gregorian calendar, which
Julius.
July,
it's the
Julius,
first.
man. Hopefully everybody's having a great week. I know it's the middle of the week. Like, I'll take a break from working at home. Some of you are unfortunate enough to be working at home, or fortunate enough to be working at home, or vice versa, man. Hope it's working out for you no matter what.
Yes.
As is tradition, Pedro never puts anything in the notes for, like, what you been up to, man. So you go first.
I mean, nothing happened spectacular this week. I guess I did put a new cooler on my 3700X because
That's what you didn't put.
you know.
He hasn't been able to figure out a way to hold the cooler up to the camera. It's like, no.
No, but I can hold the little screwdriver that it came with. Well,
Nice
it's not a
long one.
little screwdriver. It's a long boy, this one.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a Be Quiet Dark Rock 4, not the Pro version, because the Pro version, it's got like 8 heat pipes. That one only has the 6. But with that in place, and once I get the new motherboard, we can start pushing like the 4.3, 4.4 gigahertz all-core overclock on the 3700X.
Ooh.
Nice.
Man, what's new with you, Jill?
So and it had a great last Friday. Friday morning, I was on an English Bob's Linux News show again, and that was a lot of fun. And then we had a great time playing golf with your friends on our Friday Foo Bar. It's always a lot of fun. Whether you do well or not, it's a lot of fun. Janky physics.
That's golf with your friends is an interesting game, especially for me. I sit back and watch it because people attempt to get competitive in what is ultimately just a have fun, you know.
Yeah,
Like if you get to the other end, you put the ball in the hole. I'm like, all right, that happened. If you don't,
Aw.
oh, okay. I don't know.
It's one of the best party games around, I think.
It's kind of an interesting one. So, got a couple things to go down. The first one I do want to mention, just give a little shout out because I'm not sure if it really works yet, is we've set up the Twitch integration with our Discord server of Mighty Justice and Ultimate Business. So if you're a sub, I think we have like 30. We have subs, don't we, Pedro?
We do.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly how many, but we do.
Like 20 or 30, it tells me.
No.
Oh, that's a thing. But if you go to your Discord, and it should get you into general disarrays, and if it doesn't, and you can't send me the message, you're like, oh, like, I just thought about that. I was like, well, if it doesn't work, it's gonna be fun telling me. That's definitely 100% a thing. What else do we have? Oh, Guestbox has been wired in. It's a little HP desk 600 something. So we should be able to start pulling people into the show to talk to them, have a little chat with them. that's a thing. That's going to be brilliant. Still got a test on that. I did release for this curious little moon device. No. What you're seeing is not a diseased iPod from 2009. Nay. This was just straight up curiosity, man, because this is a phonic Firefly, which I'm familiar with, like not the 2 series, but the 3 series. This I'd never seen before, and I asked the internet, and the internet's like, well, people have sold them before, but there's no information on it. So I made some information on it. I plugged this in and gave it the business, and that video, speaking of Discord's in the announcements section. If you want to go take a look at that, it's a thing. A little early for patrons. I still got to do all the benchmark graphs and punch all the data stuff in. And after I'm done with that, I'm going to be doing a little thing. I still think these are the coolest little tins. 10G Tech, you did awesome on these. These are sweet. They're like Mentos tins, but that got a hold of the wrong stuff. And they're nice and padded.
Nice.
Why do we have this? Because I want to simplify, man. I looked around on the internet and I watched a couple of videos between like the 15 to 30 minute long videos of people really not understanding how multi-mode fiber transceivers work and what you should buy versus like OM3, OM4 cable or OM2. I can do that in about 5 minutes. So I am. I'm going to put that out for everyone. If you're looking for like 10 gig networking on the cheap and the home from stuff that we're currently using right now, this is not going to be the setup for, I want to drag my movie collection from this computer to this computer exactly once. Probably not going to be the video that's interesting you, but if you need to sling 6 or 7 gigabits a second over a network without any collision errors or anything like that for, 4+ hours at a time, might be something you want to watch. Just saying.
Very cool.
Or not. just use Wi-Fi. It works. I hear that's what the kids use these days for everything. Right? Yeah.
I'm not with the kids anymore. I've come to that conclusion.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I'm definitely not.
One thing the kids are excited about is rolling Linux distributions. So let's talk about rolling Rhino, man. This is the new hotness. This is Ubuntu. They're basically getting their own version of Debian testing. So this is a little script Wimpy put out that will convert Ubuntu to a rolling release that tracks the dev series for the toughest of Ubuntu users. I'm just going to leave that alone. What does it say on the tin? Let's see. Rolling Rhino, simple tool to convert, has been installed from a daily image. Rolling release opting in, track dev series, intended for Ubuntu developers and experienced Ubuntu users who want Ubuntu once and track all the development updates. So yeah, this is like a rolling release, question mark? Just switching over to the devs?
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, it's Debian testing, and it can't detect your PPAs or desktop meta packages yet, but it may at some point. And actually, Wimpy's been talking about this actually for the last few months. I heard him talking about it on Big Daddy Linux Live about having an official Ubuntu rolling release. So this is a great first step, actually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can sort of kind of detect PPAs, as in it detects if you have any or not. It just looks in the apt sources list directory to see if you have any like PPA list files in there. And if it does, it goes, this is your problem. You deal with it. We're not going to.
Yes, exactly.
And yeah, no, I guess, for people, just regular desktop home users who want something that they don't have to worry about updating every 6 months, and they don't want to use a really, really old LTS. 1804 using person right here. I guess this is a good alternative. Maybe. Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Maybe
I expect to read all the news about all the breakage.
Oh, it's going to break. We were talking before we went live. I'm not wishing it or willing it to break in any way, but I couldn't even tango with like Debian testing because it would still occasionally break. And that was quite unfortunate. This could definitely be exciting if you want to live on the cutting edge and you're the afraids of Arch. You know, there definitely was a time in my life. Absolutely, there was a legitimate time in my life that I loved the idea of a rolling release, and I wanted to run the latest and greatest. But then I took a production studio to the knee, and my wants and desires and what I look for in a distribution completely changed. Like, is that going to stay the same for I don't know how long? Yeah, that's good. Let's do that. Backport security updates, that's all we get? Sure, let's rock and roll, man. Go try it out right now, right? That's just something you can flip on.
Yeah,
you can. It's on GitHub. You can either clone the Git or just straight up copy paste the shell script and run it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Up next.
Yay. Yeah, so this is really cool, minty freshness. So this is Linux Mint 20 Cinnamon. Desktop has been released with lots of major new features, along with the removal of snaps that we've been talking about for a while. So no snap packages, but you can enable them. There is a way to enable them. But anyways, there's a lot of awesome features in this version. And one is they made file sharing easy again. They used to have an app called Giver, and they had taken that away, and now it's called Warpinator. And what it does is it detects any other Linux Mint install on your network and just automatically makes it easy to share files back and forth. So it's really easy to use. And years ago, that's one of the reasons I used to recommend Linux Mint to new users. So it's nice to have that back again. And this is actually something really big. And now we have per monitor fractional scaling options for multi-monitor setups. You can scale not only from 100% and 200%, but at 125%, 150%, and 175% as well. And you know, this is really great, especially when you're dealing with different resolutions of monitors. Like here, I have not only different resolutions of monitors, but I have landscape and portrait together. And this makes it a lot easier to match up your resolutions from your monitors and the scaling of each monitor. So it worked really, really well. So that was awesome.
They did something really clever, because if you have been, dealing with the high DPI or even slightly different resolution monitors on your Linux setup, you've probably gone, it's like, can I do like per monitor scaling and have like different scaling in each monitor? And you probably ran into the same thing that a lot of us did. Not with X, you can't. And Wayland's not there yet. So you'd basically be stuck in trying to find like the happy medium between, 125% looks really good on this, but it's huge on that one, so let's find something that's a bit smaller. This, they're not actually doing X scaling, they're doing GTK scaling. They're just scaling the GTK elements of the UI, like the text and everything else, and applying the scaling to that. So it only scales the UI. But I do wonder what that will do to some games.
That could work, it could not. I mean, what are you going to be dealing with if you're in a KDE environment, though?
KDE has had fractional scaling for a long time.
I gave him that one. Did you see that?
Like a long time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, there's multiple ways to work around it. That's something you definitely might want to take a look at. I'm sitting with a 43-inch and like a 28-inch that, is in show note mode. Then I have another 28-inch over UHD. Both of these are UHD. This one's causing me to hit my mic arm. But it's only 1080p, and my workaround is, you know what? You're the browser monitor now. Why? Because Control Plus. That's why.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of fun configuring it with my 43-inch Ultra HD and my 1080p monitor and my 1440. And it was really nice being able to have those in between 100% and 200. That's been an issue with Ubuntu Mate actually right now with my setup. So Cinnamon worked beautifully with that. And I'm looking forward to trying to play a game spanning my 3 monitors with the new fractional scaling features.
And again,
I mean, ideally,
Warpinator
it doesn't
is-
touch the GLX context, so it should be fine.
No.
Yeah, it should be
Should be.
Another shout out to Warpinator. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's a
Yeah.
tool that should be included with everything, because even
Yes.
the work, just having for the average user, is like, I want to get something from here to my laptop. Boop,
Yeah.
boop, done.
So easy.
Discoverability. Just
Yeah.
nothing to mess around with. And as opposed to, you know what, Google Drive it is. Let's send this halfway across the earth in order to get it here. It's definitely a thing. Good news, everyone. Exolus developer
Yes.
is now creating a truly
Yes.
modern Linux distribution called Snake Jazz OS.
Yes.
It's not called Snake Jazz OS, but it should be.
It will
Yeah.
be. I got money on it.
Serpent OS.
Snake Jazz OS. Man, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's
got a
Ike
lot going on.
Doherty. You may remember
Yeah.
him from that interview, What We Did, or far more likely, the person who used to do like a lot of Intel Clear Linux stuff, and the person who created Solus.
That
So-
Solus, this has got a lot going for it. I'm looking at the screenshot here, man. You could call it Lightbringer OS. Some people do that. So,
Yeah.
Lucifer.
right. Morningstar OS, that'll be great. That could be a thing.
Radiation OS.
100% cling built, including the kernel. libc++ instead of stdc. That's UEFI only. You know, don't bring into that legacy boot.
Yeah.
That, okay, yeah, UEFI is a thing. Of course, if you can remember, it's like when that didn't work, but now it just works. That's good. Completely open source, down to the bootstrap, rebuild scripts. That's great. Wayland only. X11 compatibility via containers will be investigated, so Wayland only. And this is interesting, moving away from just the x86 64 generic baseline. So when you're compiling your kernel, you know, you have like the old K8 Optra and Hammer, stuff like that. Then you get whatever. Then you get basically what every kernel ships with is just the generic x86 64. But they're going to be doing some specific CPU optimizations.
Yeah. And I remember actually having a talk with Ike a long time ago when Google Plus still had the Hangouts in it on the side. Yeah, that was how long ago that was. And I remember it's like, I saw the bullet points in It's Foss's article, and it's like, that sounds familiar. So I went through the Hangout. It's like, oh, there's that one, there's that one, there's that one. I see what you're doing. So yeah, no, he's actually decided, you know what, let's just make this happen, because one of the things that he brought up was remove the dependency from the GNU toolchain and everything else that it brings with it, especially, you know, all of those people. So remove that and make it a operating system that is more about the operating system itself and how you can work with your computer with your operating system than it is about making it work with this thing and making it work with that thing and making it pleasing to this particular brand of politics and making it pleasing to that particular license agreement. So it's very much an OS for the sake of being a good OS, or it will be.
That's a good idea.
Hopefully.
I say rock and roll with it. You know, I was reading through the blog post. All this is going to be in our show notes. And I kind of tripped up because there's two quote, "This is a project setting out to use Linux as Linux should be used." What? Bold move, Cotton. Because I'm going to go out and
I could make the argument that that's Fedora, but whatever.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and I just keep muting until I get a sentence out. And say that, you know, it's kind of up to Linus and his wacky tech tips to explain what Linux should be used for, right? I mean, when you think about it.
Well, the NVIDIA driver issue is interesting, and who knows? The open source NVIDIA drivers are getting better, so maybe that's a thing.
They're still a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And that
But they
is,
do.
I'm not saying anything negative towards the Nuvo team working on them. It's still a dumpster fire, not through any fault of
Yeah.
their own. But what I'm
No.
definitely looking at, is if we're going to be rolling out Wayland only. That completely just whacks my production toolchain, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
It does. It's gone. It obliterates it. There's no option B because I'm not an NVIDIA shill. I'm not. Isn't that right, Linus? That's right. My issue is because you need NVIDIA. Can't use NVIDIA or Wayland. Okay, I'd use AMD. That's not my problem. My problem is until Pipewire is fully baked, and we're including jack support, net jack support, also the ability with OBS. I need being able to pipe through video to record. I can't touch Wayland. I just can't. So I will sit back and watch this with great interest. But I do want to ask something that's probably on the minds of anybody who's kept track of stuff like this. Pedro, how long do you think, is it reasonable to question how long Ike's going to stay with this one?
No, that's very reasonable because
I have
he's
to
never,
ask that because
terribly
that's going to be the
comfortable
first
sitting
question.
in one place. Yeah, no. With Solus, he was there for a few years, and he tried the previous Solus that was Debian based for a couple of years too. So yeah, clearly he's looking for something. Maybe this will be it. I don't know.
This one could stick the landing, man.
Yeah.
That's
well,
cool.
with Ike at the helm, truly visionary progress happens in Linux. He's proved it with Solus. So, and I know he wanted something even more independent than Solus. So this is his answer. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we get. He's truly trying to progress Linux. Very
what
cool.
do we have up next? XBS 13.
Yes, Dell. They have been doing very good with the XPSs and according to the Canonical blog,
You
the
kids
new
with
Dell
your slim
XPS.
laptops. I'm looking at it like I'd snap that in half. It's too thin.
Yes, quite slim.
Yes, it is very slim. Yes.
But yeah, this one comes from the Canonical blog, and they say that the new Dell XPS 13 Developer Edition, I think it's 7390. I could be wrong, but that looks like the 7390. It's now available, and it comes with GNOME 336, new and updated applications like LibreOffice 6.4 and Thunderbird 68.7. Over 6,000 steps. Just stop, Canonical. And the big difference, like hardware-wise, is the bigger screen. And with the bigger screen comes a big touchpad and a big keyboard. Well, it's a little bit bigger. They call it the edge-to-edge keyboard. Honestly, I don't really care about the touchpad because if I'm doing something that would require a larger touchpad, I just plug in a USB mouse and call it a day. And they do claim that it was rated for 18 hours and 49 minutes of battery life and full HD to keep you powered on the go. It's like, that's an impressive number.
Yeah.
That is an impressive
I will
number.
have you know, 720p is very much still considered a standard for HD.
They say FHD plus, so
Interlaced. 10% brightness.
1080i. All right. Okay.
Oh.
We kid.
Well, I think this is cool because, the Project Sputnik flagship Linux laptop keeps on giving. And it's got a great price point starting at just under $2,000. And I was looking at the specs, and for an extra $100, I would increase the RAM to 16 gigabyte minimum, of course. that to me should be standard. And I love that the base model screen has one of my favorite resolutions, 1920 by 1200. Awesome. Yeah. It's
1610.
borderless. Yeah, practically borderless too. It's really cool.
The infinity display, as they call it.
Yes.
It's very clearly finite.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can admit that I've definitely sit back and have been quietly applauding Apple this entire time. I'm like, you finally did it. Why? Because when Apple does something, whether or not you want to admit it, they're never the first to do it. They set the industry standard.
Yes.
We're getting ARM laptops.
Yeah,
in
silicon.
possibly 2-3 years. And we're going to get all the... What?
I have an ARM laptop.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
You have a tablet with a
Netbooks.
keyboard on it.
Yes, the one that you can't attach, therefore a laptop.
Give me some super glue. I can fix this.
I have the Gorilla epoxy.
That's not the only laptop we got to talk about this week, though.
Yeah, this is
No.
really exciting. From our friends over at System 76, this is the Oryx Pro 6 laptop, which is just launched. And this is honestly one of the most innovative, performant, and versatile and light and thin laptops on the market. And the big deal about this laptop is for the first time ever, System 76 has loaded its open source firmware onto a machine with NVIDIA graphics. Ooh. And their open firmware features Core Boot firmware and EDK2.
Okay, how long did that take till we got to a bad Photoshop at the screen?
There we go. Yeah,
It was a solid 2 pictures.
it's 2 pictures.
The third one was the bad shoot.
So it has EDK2, excuse me, and as well as System 76 firmware apps. And of course, you can seamlessly toggle between Intel and NVIDIA RTX 20 series graphics, which is really nice. And Linux makes that so much easier now. And this also gives you great battery life. And this is not a Ryzen processor, but it is a really nice 10th gen Intel Core i7 by default, and it has 8 cores and 16 threads and up to 64 gigs of RAM, which is really nice specs.
No chill, System 76. Pedro, do you see a problem with the screenshot?
The Witcher 3? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
So you're going to rock out and be like, yeah, Linux, all the thing. This is the game that famously never came to Linux because CD Projekt Red told the
Yeah.
Linux community to die in a fire.
Because they got their
and then
fifis a bit hurt on accounts of what happened
bad
with
port.
The Witcher 2.
Yeah. That
Still,
was a thing.
good laptop.
Yes.
Yes, I want to see more, especially if System 76 aren't the only ones doing it, then they should do more.
Yeah.
But I want more Core Boot laptops with good specs, not, I don't want to buy a ThinkPad X220 if I want to have Core Boot. No, new stuff
Yeah.
with current gen processors and good GPUs and good screens. Yeah, please. God.
Yeah. Beautiful System 76. Well done.
Keep fighting the good fight, and I'm definitely down with their laptops now that they're starting to cut those things out of whole cloth at home. They're
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looking
now
a
that
lot-
they're actually putting a bit of work
Manufacturing
into and creating like a bit of an entire ecosystem of their own, because they have their own OS, Ubuntu based, so you can still make that argument. But
now, in
they
all
are very
fairness,
much
the newer laptops still have a decided lack of wood trim on them.
I'm sure that's coming soon. And I'm hoping for a pink one because of Emma. I want a pink. I want a pink
brushed aluminum,
System
but
76.
with like wood grain coloring. That
Yeah.
could work. System 76, you can have that one for free.
That'd be great. Maybe a slot for my Atari games. Up next, NL funding.
Lemmy.
Not 0.7.0 with new image hosting. Yeah, they got big news, man. Lemmy is receiving funding from NLNet Foundation, so they're going to give up 45,000 euros to keep this thing rocking on, which I'm very happy about, because you're wondering, like, then what's a Lemmy? Huh? That guy from The Simpsons? I don't know. Think about it like this. I mean, it's similar
Lemmy.
to sites like Reddit, LobsterRS, Rattle, Hacker News, minus the centralized server. So, I understand that everyone wants to decentralize all the things. And this is very much similar to Reddit, minus having to have that one single point of failure, which also means ultimately, get ready for this 8 10 people will ever use it. But
How's Vote doing nowadays?
Mastodon.
Yeah. But the other options out there, like Matrix, are doing pretty well in library. So that's pretty
By
awesome.
open source project standards, yes, I'm sure.
Ha, I have 12
Absolutely
users.
fine.
Right. That's one of the things I think of. That's really neat, man. The concept of like a decentralized news aggregation platform. I like that idea because every single platform has like some things can come up, some things can't, and what I really don't like is not having a rule book.
Yeah.
They're
It's
like,
really
we don't like
nice.
this stuff this week or this other stuff this
Yeah.
week. Keep the
Yeah.
politics and stuff just completely out of it. And you could set up your own federated thing. I would say good on them.
Yeah, definitely. It's so nice to have a decentralized option to Reddit, and which is away from corporate control. And a lot of us pine for those old days of Reddit. I liked the Reddit in the old days of your, and maybe Lemmy will answer that call.
Probably not.
Really
but
cool.
it's good to have the option. I'm
The
a
ace of
realist,
spades.
Yeah.
So yeah, going in completely the opposite direction, we have KDE, which instead
Yes.
of decentralizing everything, they are very much centralizing everything on the development front end.
Try
because
GitLab risk-free for 30 days. Man, that makes me absolutely just like, what website am I on? This is what I did. My brain directly just
Yeah.
went, wait, am I the wrong site?
yeah, well, they have to monetize it somehow because after Microsoft bought GitHub, and a bunch of projects were like, we're just gonna go to GitLab now. They kind of need to have a monetization scheme going, so I can see that. And KDE have decided, you know what? GitLab is where we're going, and they've decided to actually get GitLab themselves involved and try their best to unify everything from like the translations to the actual package developments, and every single KDE application, like all the different specific ones, had its own repo for the most part. So they have, or they felt like they had to unify everything so that when a new prospective developer and supporter came in to KDE, a lot of people were understandably a bit discouraged. And if someone wants to help you, you need to make it as simple as possible for them to help you. Because, yeah, if I walk into a project, it's like, oh, I can do this and I can do that. It's like, well, then you have to register 30 different accounts on 30 different websites, and you need to have 3 different emails and subscribe to these 10 mailing lists, or we're not doing anything with you. It's like, you have fun with that. I'm out. So, yeah, it was very much that kind of situation that KDE are trying to avoid, and just have it all in one place. It's like, you want to help us? Here's our GitLab.
Yeah.
Pick a project, go.
Good on them.
Yeah,
Hey, man,
makes
I
it so much easier.
Yeah.
I was amazed. I mean, I know there were over 200 applications, but 2,600 projects. Wow,
Yeah,
that's a lot of work
because
to bring
they don't
all
just do
those.
yeah, they don't just do the
KDE.
KDE as a desktop environment. They also have like the KDE frameworks, which everything runs off of, and you basically, to have that one unified framework that everything can share. Yeah. And that's why things break.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it still worth it, like going to that page with all the projects and hitting Control FK?
Yes, and seeing like 1,000 instances.
Oh. Good news, everybody. I'm going to talk about Cadmus, man. This is based on the same recurrent neural network as speech denoiser, something that I'm using right now to actively remove any type of background noise during the show. But this has a nice little GUI put on top of it. So, it's basically just a front end for RN noise, but it's so easy to set up. I guarantee you, positively, even an Arch user could pull this off, man. And
That's because it's in the AUR.
Yes.
link in the show notes. I want you to get out there and go play with it. You're like, hey, what does it really do? You know, you have like RTX voice, which is like it's been trained on a net, and there's speech denoiser and there's a noise removal plugin, but up until recently, you'd have to set up Jack, then you'd have to set up a plugin host and wire that in, then wire that through like a Pulse Audio bridge. Didn't work. This, Pedro, you just drop this into Pulse Audio, right?
Yep. You start it, and it gives you two options: enable noise suppression and disable noise suppression. And if you only have the one like output and the one input, like I do, it goes, all right, that's your input, so I'm just going to enable noise suppression on that. And then you can, it does a good job of setting the input stream that it creates from the monitor. After denoising it, it makes that the default. So if you're using like Microsoft Teams or Skype or Discord or whatever, it goes, oh, that's your default now, is it? Blip. And it's automagical. You can actually see like all the different streams and devices, virtual devices that it creates if you open Pavu Control, which I did, obviously. And I started like doing the scratchies on the microphone pop filter and everything. It's like the denoised microphone. It's like, oh, there it is. Okay. I had to actually go at it for it to start registering some scratchiness. So yeah, no, I also tried a test call through Teams, but Teams is not a good benchmark. It compresses the poop out of everything, like everything. So it's a bit pointless to use it in Teams, but it does work. So it's very easy if you have Ubuntu, Neon, Debian, what have yous. There's a Deb, just install it.
Yeah, and you know, it worked very well. I tested it with Audacity and Mumble, and was typing on my keyboard, and it did a very good job at canceling those sounds out. And even though, you know, during most podcasts, I'm not using my keyboard except maybe occasionally to look something up on Google, but that doesn't usually happen during the shows. But I will definitely be using this for all the other podcasts I do, and it is so nice to have a quick and easy option compared to using hardware for noise gating, which, you know, I'm usually set up to do hardware, but it's nice to have software noise gating and an easy to use GUI.
Well, we do need to point out this isn't a noise gate.
Yeah, it's a suppression. Yeah.
What's the best way to, because when I know people are going to be listening, when you think of a noise gate's going to have a floor trigger on it. So once you get to a point, you know, it's going to open up and like, hey, I can be loud. Now, this is a good thing. You know, you were talking about keyboards. People have the clacky keyboards. And they're like, how do I stream with my clacky keyboard? Get rid of your clacky keyboard. There's step one, Brad. But two, a noise gate would let you do that. Now, this is going to be doing real-time noise filtering. So did you test it with a clacky keyboard?
Yes, I did.
It did an all right. It did an all right job of muffling like keyboard strikes, but it didn't completely remove them.
Yeah, on my Reds, it did a pretty good job, but I have a very, very focused mic, so it doesn't pick up the keyboard too much unless I have it right next to the mic.
Try it out. See how it works for you. That's kind of brilliant. What do we got? Oh, we have one little slice of pie, but before we get out of here, I want to thank each and every one of you over at patreon.com/Linux Gamecast supporting everything we do on this network. Not just this show, man. We got stuff rolling out like Pedro on Tuesday, us on Wednesday. Thursday, you're back with me because Jordan and myself, you know what? We got a new series, Young in Blood. We're going to be playing through Wolfenstein Youngblood in co-op. It's going to be kind of brilliant. But if you come patron, we have several different levels, each with a corresponding reward, except for the Chicago one. But that one's there for other reasons. Access to our show notes. You get a custom RSS feed. If you like what we do and you're like, hey, man, I would like 4 hours of this extra every week. The Live and Uncut Saturdays. That's in podcast form. What else do we have, Pedro? We're horrible at selling stuff.
Pre Super Shows on Saturday before the big show.
You get access to the pre Super Shows and you also have, if you want to watch that particular production meeting and everyone having all of the issues, that is probably, if you want to see like the real LGC fire, I think the pre Super Shows.
Yeah.
If you want to see the pure LGC fire, what we need to do is install like a drop cam in here for like mid of the week when I'm like, I have an idea.
Oh God.
It's terrifying, but thank you. That's the reason we're able to do all this, and we're able to do it without bringing you ads. We have a very non-for-profit business model of, if you like it, you can support it.
Not-for-profit being the accurate term there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of hard to make the business case when we're like, so what do you do? We just give everything away.
Aww.
And guess what, kids? It's a little pricey keeping well over half a terabyte of data online. What else do we have? Shirts.
Yay, merch.
Store.linuxgamecast.com. Go there, pick out your favorite design, or if for some reason none of that strikes your fancy, remind Ven to do the fanny packs already.
Yes.
Now, Pedro, do you remember the conversation we had about nagging someone?
You're the one who keeps bringing up the fanny packs.
I intentionally didn't mention it this week because it was too deep of a wound, Pedro, that you've reopened. We got that, man.
Yeah.
You can wear some LGC merch all over
Yes.
your face, chest, and I mean face too, because they just gave me an option to make a face mask, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Probably nothing constructive. But yeah. Also, tune in if you want to learn more about this little mystery moon device. I got a couple of videos coming out. Just time released early for patrons. You get them after the fact, usually about a week later for everyone else. But I like to give people a sneak peek before they're completely finished. So you can help out old man Ven. Be like, you really messed up right there. I'm like, oh, thanks for pointing that out. And sometimes I don't like just go, oh, well. It's a thing, man. Slice pie.
Ooh. That's a very rumpled shirt, then. with the pie on it. Okay, so this is GNU Health Pie. This is really an awesome project. This is a GNU Health, which expands its support for the Raspberry Pi. The GNU Health project, by the way, is designed to help hospitals run on low-cost software and hardware. And this is their GNU Health Embedded, which is a suite of software that enables real-time monitoring of vital signs in hospital settings. And it also can be used for retrieving information from laboratory instruments and act as a family and personal health tracker. And normally their software, their default software runs on servers and helps the hospitals in organizing everything from medical exams to equipment. And so this one is specifically made for helping real-time monitoring. And oh gosh, this is just an amazing project. And on LWW way back when, on episode 164, I interviewed Louis Falcon, MD, president of GNU Health from Scale. And that was actually a really amazing conversation. And I have so much passion for this project because it's using open source to help people and help cure people of diseases. And gosh, it could be helpful for COVID. So this is just an awesome project. What better way for open source? What better, there's no better thing for open source to do but to save lives. And I just got a little tongue-tied there. I apologize.
But this is unfortunately something that is very necessary, because if you've read like the horror stories about people being able to hack pacemakers and morphine dispensers and all other kinds of medical equipment that have any kind of remote connectivity. They are stupidly easy to hack. So hack. Let's put a bit
We're
more
both tongue-tied.
put a bit more air behind that H.
That's pretty cool,
But-
man. I'm glad to see stuff like this in development, and it's always great when you see flaw stuff
Yeah.
Yeah.
rolling out. And we've learned, like, during, like, medical companies, period, are like abnormally ferocious with their patent protection. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
Even though reverse engineering is completely like, oh, we're still going to try to sue you though.
Yeah.
Yeah, get stopped.
We'll take you to court.
Good on
Yeah.
We'll lose, but we'll take you to court.
and the costs needed to buy the software that does these functions, and now with open source it's free, so that's awesome.
That's brilliant. Go check it out. gnuhealth.org. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out of here. We've overstayed our welcome, but we'll see you next week. Yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Let's roll some credits.
Yay.
And if you would like to send some feedback or some hate mail, linuxgamecast.com/contact. It's easy.
Yay. Our executive producers, our producers, we love you all. And our advisors.
Every single crazy one of you. You're amazing. Crazy, but amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Your donations make this all worth it. Just
Yep.
amazing. Yay! Happy Penguin Wednesdays.
Was that your goofy face for this week?
Sure.
Oh.
There we go.
Stupidly easy to hack.
Yes. Yeah. Steve husband. Yes.
I don't know. No, that's a check. I'll take that.
Yeah, Daisy, isn't it pretty nice?
Nicotine.
You and your physical addiction.
It's the one I have left, all right?
No, I'm just happy you're vaping, Pedro. I'm trying to get Steve to go 100% vape.
Yeah,
He
it
will
was really
someday.
easy to do when I moved here. It's like, yeah, no, as it turns out, cigarettes are stupidly expensive.
Yeah.
You can eat for a week or you can buy a pack of cigarettes. Pick.
Yes. There you go. Yeah.
I'm sure Australia is laughing at you.
But yeah, no, it's like
This-
the same brand of cigarettes I used to smoke in Portugal. I had a look. It's like, how much is a pack of them? It's like 20 pounds.
20 pounds. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, nope. Yeah, I'll just take a whole week's worth of meat and groceries. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, the cigarette tax in Cali is pretty high, so it's a thing.
it was already very expensive in Portugal. They were like
Yeah.
4
I
euros,
bet.
almost 5 euros a pack. And then we came here, it's like, no.
I quit smoking cigarettes a long time ago, kids. When
Yeah.
they increased the price for a carton of Pall Malls from £12.25 to £12.50. I had it. I was like, I'm out.
So 20 packs or 10 packs of 20?
Yeah. Non-filtered too, so they were. Yeah, I couldn't deal with that. Too rich for my blood. It's like, nope, that I can't afford that habit.
Yeah, it's very expensive. Steve husband I was so proud of him though. He just got a device to make his own cigarettes, so we save a lot of money that way. And then he's gonna transition to vaping.
We'll
I mean,
figure
the
it out.
roll your own is usually a step.
Yeah.
Mostly because I did that
That's-
in university because I had
Oh,
no
did
money.
you?
It's like, oh, I could just buy the box of tobacco scraps because that's what they are.
Aw, Steve
and
husband.
one of them,
Yeah, very
and
good.
the paper and the filters I didn't bother with. There wasn't enough stuff in there to bother with the filters, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so you did it hard mode.
It was a nicotine delivery system because I hit like rock bottom depression in university because I hated school. And there was a lot of pressure for me to get through it.
Yeah.
So, I basically either got the nicotine into my brain or I would have done something.
Yeah.
Oh,
I understand.
Plugins, I gotta get upgraded. The seller has offered you a special private offer. Giggity? Hang on, I might actually just have to buy something. Let's see what it is. That's 41%. We wait on eBay. Oh, no one wanted it, eh?
I got that with the some X570 motherboard that someone was trying to sell. It's the bad one, the one that you need to buy like third-party VRM heatsinks, otherwise the VRM's just gonna go crazy. And they had it for sale for, I think it was 125 pounds, and I'm like, 100 pounds. And it's like denied. It's like, all right, fine, what have you. The bidding ended. No one bid on it. Duh. And then he came back. It's like, you can have it for 100 pounds. I was like, no. No, you can keep it.
Again, it's that principle at that point. You're like, you had your chance. You did.
Yeah,
I
it's
gave it
like,
to you.
I gave you the chance.
So this is actually one of those interesting, Pedro, you'll understand where I'm coming from on. I didn't turn it down. You'll understand. I bought this strictly for interface. I didn't even buy it. I didn't just buy it, but I thought about it.
More blue. Right.
All three of them, yeah.
Oh yeah, nice.
An Inbox 2
That's really good, Ben.
original, Inbox 2 Mini, which I already have, and
Yeah.
an
Yep.
Inbox 2 Pro.
And the Chucky boy.
And legitimately, the
Cool.
only one I was curious about was the original Inbox. Because that has like pre-Sonus preamps in it,
Yeah.
which I'm not a huge fan of. Is this people really?
Yeah, that's a very good price. That's how
Yeah.
much I paid for this box too.
Yeah.
Just for the one, huh, Pedro?
Oh, Firewire for musical interfaces hasn't really been a thing for a decade. But music equipment isn't upgraded. I know it's plugged into a computer, It's not a computer. I mean, you get a good interface, you keep it for 20 years. And pro audio, I can think of 2 exceptions. And I'm talking pro audio. I'm talking like, $12, $15, $2,000, $3,000 interfaces. Skipped USB because it's such a craptastic way of doing an interface. They went from FireWire and they waited until Thunderbolt 1 came out. And they're like, there we go. Something that's not packet-based.
I wish they got the USB 4 specification so we can have Bizarro Q. Thanks for the follow.
Yay!
So they
Bizarro.
they have the USB 4 because it's Thunderbolt 3 compliant. That's great. We just have Thunderbolt 3 and USB 4 in one single port, one single standard, please, God, already. Come on.
Here's the life hack I want. One of the things they don't tell you about is this Threadripper motherboard. It's got a Thunderbolt port on it. You can buy it and put it on. And it's a Threadripper port.
Yeah.
Yeah.
X399.
I need that for reasons.
Ooh, shiny.
Also, I can have Thunderbolt without buying an Intel.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's option A, B, and C. Because even Gigabyte's like, oh, oops, we accidentally left it on there.
Yeah, hello and welcome
they
again,
have to
Bizarro
do-
Q.
Yeah, they have to do something with the Intel motherboards that they're not selling now that there's actual competition. It's like, oh yeah, those X299 motherboards. Let's put a TRX4 socket on it. Call it X399. Yeah.
The benchmarks for the new Ryzen's, the R5s, came out.
Yeah.
Those things
3600.
within rounding error, single-threaded IPC performance of the Intel counterpart.
The 3300X is stupidly overpriced because people are still buying it at the moment it comes in stock. But even for 120 pounds, you're getting the performance that 3 or 4 years ago you got from a 7700X. 7700K, sorry.
No, I like how you said it the
i7.
first time, 7700X.
The 7700K, the Intel i7, the quad-core 8-thread one. That 3300X is that for a third of the original price of that. And even right now, if you go on eBay and you look for a 7700K, they're still 200 pounds, 250 pounds, because they know that the people who bought those motherboards are locked into that. They can't really get an 8000 series laptop processor.
So there's
They can't really get
7700X.
I don't think they released that one. But yeah, it at this point AMD is going like, so there's a market segment, let's just do that. It basically, it's the entire mid-range and the high end and the workstation for Threadripper. It's like, oh,
Epic.
Intel, you're gonna compete at any time? No.
Well, here's the realization, because as much as I love, like, hoorah, because, I got that entire wall of AMD processors by me, I always like to preface, because what I'm about to say next, I love that AMD's doing good. I always buy AMD CPUs. Intel's not hurting. Intel could still buy AMD with pocket change.
Yeah.
And the only reason they don't is because of antitrust issues.
Because if they didn't, that pocket change would cost them a lot more, yeah.
It's good to have competition, but they've been living under competition for well over a decade now. AMD's like, yeah.
Oh, we're actually competing now.
Yeah, hi. Remember us? And it's a big, massive ship at Intel. It's going to take them a year or two to like get that thing turned and reconfigured into like, wait a minute, we have to compete on price and performance.
Yeah.
That's not fair. People should just give us their money.
Yeah.
And AMD, I've said this before, but they are in this unique position that they can compete with Intel and with NVIDIA, two so much larger companies than they are. And they can effectively compete with them. Right now, the Radeon Technologies Group isn't doing a terribly good job because, yes, the 5700 and the 5700 XT were good video cards. They're a little bit too pricey for what they do, but they are good video cards. The Big Navi supposedly maybe, might be, could be, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Big Navi boils down to how many gigawatts of power it's going to take to deliver. Because it's not a very attractive card. Like, yeah, it's only 600 watts.
Only.
Only, yeah.
It's probably not going to be 600 watts, but it will be around 300.
Yeah, you gotta hang on, like, AMD, man. I rock and rolled with, I stuck out with that bulldozer, man. I went from, it's like a Sempron or something, that I had that bulldozer that I gave to Jordan until, Ryzen.
Yeah.
But, and we're still using the Ryzen, it's in our audio box, that original 1700. But I was at the point of, if Ryzen didn't pan out, I was gonna have to buy Intel.
Yeah. Everyone at that point was.
It's like, I'm gonna have to switch over for the first time ever. And admittedly, I'm still grumpy that the new Threadrippers, even though they're socket pin compatible, then again, I'm also less grumpy because I realize that I'm not going to spend $1,300 on the budget Threadripper.
No, those are very much like workstation grade CPUs.
They're
You're
workstation
dropping
priced.
quad digits.
But the irritating thing for me is there was never enough, because I have the 1920X Threadripper. I would really like a 2950, but there's not enough market saturation to really drive down the price. No.
And the people who bought the early X399 motherboards, like you did, they, again, are locked into that platform unless they spend another exorbitant amount of money to go with the TRX 40s.
Well, it's not the early. It's X399 was the only.
Yeah.
It's not like buying a later version of the X399 would get you anything other than, it's a little newer.
Maybe better VRMs if you want to push some overclocks. That's it.
Yeah, mine has like the dual poles for the fan and the jumper for the LN2, so. And like multiple types of
like
RG,
I said,
bro.
It's the VRM. They might get better VRMs with the higher end ones. That's about it. Because they all have like all the flashy stuff anyway, so.
That's why I really wish like Supermicro was up at it, because I'd much rather have a Epic motherboard. Because you know what? They're just green.
Oh, yes,
They're just
that's true.
PCBs.
Yeah, just nice green. Still have like that off-white PCI colored PCIe slots.
Yeah, the actual mounting slots is there. Is
Yeah.
that beige? That's beige. Yeah.
You know, that color that if you showed it to a YouTuber, they'd try to retro-bright it? That color.
No, they just release stuff like the mini consoles, like the mini versions of like the Commodore 64 and whatnot. They come pre-yellowed.
I don't know, man. I had an idea. I have a interface that is in the mail right now that it has clearly led a rough life. This is strictly like compatibility testing, and I thought about doing, I'm going to restore it the YouTuber way. What do you mean by that? I'm going to spray some Windex on it, wipe it off. Look, restore it. Yeah. But I thought it'd be fun to like retro bright it, just drop it in, plugged in,
I'm
watch it short circuit
peroxide
and explode.
gel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does work well. To me, though, because I've retro-brighted one of my older systems, but to me, I like that it looks like it's aged. And actually my stuff, because I've never had it in the sun, it's not that horrible yellow. Like I have a Mac Classic back there, and it's not very yellow because I've taken care of it. It's out of the sun. But to me, it actually takes away, Stephen was saying he thought it actually took away a layer of the, you're actually physically stripping a layer of the computer off. By
You're dipping it in peroxide, yeah.
Yeah.
Plastic
H2O.
and peroxide don't like each other very much.
Yeah, and I don't like that. That's to me, I like it truly vintage, original.
Like the panache. Yeah,
I clean it really well, but you don't need to use RetroBrite.
Unless you care about how stuff looks.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, I
my
do
laptops,
too,
I make
but-
it very like I haven't taken the Dremel with the polishing wheel to any of them yet, but I have taken like toothpaste and then a little bit of a rubbing
Yeah.
to get all the scratches off the surface. It's like, yeah, that looks shiny.
Oh, Inertia, thanks, man. I was worried there for a minute.
So you're not removing mass from
Yeah.
the layer. You're just moving mass from the layer.
Yeah.
Listen, man.
Now, all my systems are very, very clean, and I have a technique I use, which a lot of people don't even consider. It's just soap, soft soap, and water, warm water, and that's how I clean all my systems, and they stay beautiful because of that.
I gotta stay out of California because the thought of like cleaning something with soap and water is a foreign concept.
That's completely unheard of.
Yeah.
I wonder what that'll do to my skin. I need to try it sometime.
Well, it's no, but the thing is most people, like a lot of the YouTubers and whatnot that are vintage computer collections, they don't ever use that option, and I'm like, that is an option. It makes them shiny and pretty, and it takes the dirt off, and sometimes you have to use some other techniques with it, but it works.
I'll just go back to my original point. I don't see the point of like making a video or any other sort of demonstrating like, look, I've cleaned it.
Yeah.
Yay.
A lot of people find the catharsis on that.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
This is why I was thinking about making half a prank video with this interface going in. And just having some fun with it. Maybe. I don't know. If I was going to RetroBrite something, I'd take a Zis wheel to it, take it down to whatever base metal it was. Well, before that, I'd paint scope it, take that to the paint store. Figure it out, maybe lighten it up a little bit. Hit it. I probably would. Well, I don't know. I might hit it with a clear coat after the fact just to make it look a little different. Yeah, and just spray it. Make it look like whatever I wanted to, man. The idea of submerging something in hydrogen peroxide. Now I got some hydrogen peroxide that will eat through it, but
Yeah, the 99% one.
Yeah. But oh man, jeez. Okay, now yeah, I could probably dissolve the interface now that I'm thinking about it. That would come back a little bit later, and it's just like a blue slurry. I'd have to do it outside though.
I read when I started like going on eBay, it's like, ooh, that's a really nice old laptop. Get it? It's like, okay, so how do I make them shiny? I want to make them shiny again. It's like, for scrubbing plastic, toothpaste. All right.
It's just abrasive. Yeah.
Yeah, toothpaste does work, but it is more abrasive. But it does work in those hard to get places.
See, I thought about
toothpaste
that.
and toothbrush. It's like
That's the thing, man. I mean, you can do things with like glass paper or high grit sand. I mean, it's the same principle. But between those two SNESes, I'm like, do they both work? Like, yeah. And I'm like, what's the difference?
one has a black scratch on it. The other one is a bit yellowed.
Back to my original point. Do they still work? This is why I've been able to stick the studio together so cheap. We're like, it's not pretty enough. It's got to take. Does it work? Okay, gimme. I'll patch it up. Don't worry about it.
You're talking
I
to
went
the
both.
person who just got a great big massive hole in the front of his computer.
You destroyed something beautiful, Pedro. That's the exact opposite. I'm willing to
made it work
accept.
better.
I'm willing to accept once loved equipment, despite its flaws. You inflict these flaws on something perfectly fine. Out of what I can only assume to be
perfectly
malice.
fine. That's the
impossible.
problem. It really was not perfectly fine, and now with the great big hole in the front and the massive air cooler, it's like, oh, now we're actually getting 50C while gaming. All right, okay.
What's your temperature right now?
Let's
love
start
doing
the
this.
terminal.
As I go to my terminal.
53.8 on the T-die. The hottest core is 46.
So what do you have running?
Firefox, Vivaldi, Chrome for Jitsi, Discord, and Thunder Chicken. And Steam.
And Steam, just for fun. Just for fun.
When we ended the show, I started Steam back up.
Yeah, I'm at 40 Celsius.
So that's your computer at idle.
Well, idle with like 12% CPU utilization, but yes. And it's mostly coming from this Jitsi window right here.
Boom. I'm actually warmer than you.
T-die is about 4 Celsius warmer. Huh?
I mean, then again, I'm streaming.
Yes. Let's save that and sort by date. There we go.
I need Strider. That's too small to read.
Yeah, I can't read it. I have to zoom in.
You can open in the browser. There's the open original on the bottom.
That is immediately too much effort. That line of caring enough, just way past it. Way past that.
Yeah, it's a 53 on the T-die, and with I found the latest version of the IT87 chipset module. And the T-die is actually accurate with TCTL because the new Ryzens don't they don't do the TCTL like extra 10C anymore.
Those are fun days. The early days of like getting motherboard's fine, boop boop, put that in, get into the BIOS. I'm like, oh, we're talking first month of Ryzen being out too. That looks great. Let's get everything booted. Come back a little bit later, after you get some things installed and set up. You check your temp, and it's like 80. You're like, what? You have that panic attack when you have that random 10 to 15 degree offset. I'm like, why is that there? To make people angry. We're just AMD. I don't know. What?
But yeah, the big difference now that especially the Be Quiet Dark Rock 4 made was like running the game videos before I send them to you, Ven, through Handbrake. Instead of peaking out at like 74, 75, T-die now peaks at 60, 62, the highest.
Yeah, mine doesn't. This 1920 doesn't go over 60 because that's where I have it set to cut the fans on.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're not under much load. That's where we're at right now. Just kind of chilling out.
Yeah.
Pulse audio is numbing a lot. Audacity's a little bit. SSH is a big culprit, though.
Yeah, I found since I put my RX 580 in this machine when it was originally when I was building it, I had a NVIDIA card in it, but when I put the RX 580, the temperature did go up. So that is a thing. It's not bad, but it does go up.
The RX 570, when I first got it, I noticed that the fans were a bit loud. And it's like, this is a Strix. It's secondhand Strix, but this is a Strix. It shouldn't be this loud. But I just plugged it in to see if it was working. It was working. So then I pulled it back out, took the 4 screws out, and the I didn't even have to pry the PCB off of the cooler. I just picked it up and it came off. It's like,
oh yeah.
You're a bit dry, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's like the thermal pads, the thermal paste on the GPU die itself.
That the stock thermals.
Oh my
that,
gosh.
Which was a good heatsink, that Wraith.
Yeah.
That came with the 7800. I'm like, I just put that on there for testing, but it had good enough thermals where I left it. But the stock application of a year later, when I went to put the Hyper 212 and changed the boxes out, yeah, that came off. Like, I was like, I twisted, then I pulled, chip came right with it. I'm like, what?
Yep.
Crack it. I'm like, man, I'm glad that's not a flip chip from back in the day. And I just scraped it. Then I bought one of the graphene thermal pads for Jackbox because I don't ever plan on. I got the 212 on it. It's good. Whatever. Live.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and remove the stock thermal paste that the AMD stock coolers come with. Literally anything. If you have like, MX4, like MX4 is pretty cheap and it's actually pretty good when it comes to thermal conductiveness. You can go all crazy with Cryonaut if you want to spend 14 pounds on a 10 mil tube of paste for some reason.
Buy Thermal Grizzly has pads.
Yeah, they have pads. If you don't want to bother with thermal paste at all, use their thermal pads. They're pretty good.
They work. That's what's running on Jackbox, and no problem whatsoever. They make one for Thread. When I swap out this Threadripper eventually, at least the CPU, it's getting a pad. I just put that, but it's got Noctua paste in it right now. Noctua doesn't ship anything cheap, so I know it's decent paste. That's one thing that bothered me a little bit, because the Dark Rock 4, it came with one of those teeny tiny little single application syringes, and it was literally just a single application, because I squeezed it, it's like, oh, that's about pea size, like, oh, that's all gone. What did this look like? You see, I don't have that kind of faith, because last time I did that, it was like, single application for what? A week? But I still have like a tube of Arctic Silver that is probably a decade old now.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those too. Yeah, I haven't tried the pads yet.
They work.
Ven, I know you were saying they've worked pretty good.
If you just,
I still have this.
Oh yeah,
Cooler
man.
Master. This
Oh,
one,
wow, that's an old one.
admittedly, it was like almost full all the way up, and when it originally came out, and it's a bit of a ways down now, because this is what I use for everything.
Okay. No, admittedly, I had to use quite a bit of it for the Threadripper, because I had to do that insane like
like the
5
X,
dots,
and
then
then
6 more dots, and 3 smiley faces, 2 frowny ones. Then like latch it down. Then I had to get a light, and I'm like, "There's no way." And I was like, "Okay, none's coming out." But yeah, it's another reason to get a pad, so you don't have to deal with that. Especially if have you ever used any of the like hyperconductive stuff? Gallium.
No. The liquid metal stuff is a permanent application, that one.
No, it's not.
Yeah. It's hard to get off.
It will eat away at the heat spreader on the laptop. Why do I keep calling processors laptops? It will eat away at the heat spreader on the CPU. Yeah.
That's why you put a piece of cellophane over it first.
Defeats the whole purpose.
Oh, no. The CPU comes with a protective covering. I mean, the CPU, the heatsink. You keep that on. Plastic's technically thermally conductive. It's just the
Well, so is
resistance.
Not very much, but it is, yes.
I know people have tested toothpaste.
Toothpaste and mustard.
Yeah.
Apparently those
Yeah.
work in a pinch.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There's the other two that I was looking for. This was the first that came with the first Hyper 212 that I bought, which is over now. There's just like a little squeegee at the end. That's it. And this, which is the last one that I bought, which doesn't even have like a thing on it. It was just Cooler Master thermal paste.
Yeah.
Which is also almost over.
I don't know. I hold on to them for whatever irrational reasons because over the years it's like, oh, maybe in the apocalypse they'll be used as currency.
I also have like the single application bags. I have 2 of those MX4
Those I
ones.
will throw away. F those things, man. Those are useless.
Oh,
They're like the generic thermal goop.
No, that's like the MX4 ones. It's like, oh, I'm keeping those. The others I just throw them out. But this MX4 one I kept.
Cool. I just ran across the one I used on my original Pentium Pro back in 1995, and it was still good in the tube. So I was pretty happy about that, but I got rid of it. I don't need it anymore. It worked. That makes me happy
Arctic
thinking
MX4.
about those old computers. They had good stuff.
All right. We gotta make a show, kids. We do that thing.
Yes, and I need to go make dinner.
I have to transmogrify the database.
I know, I'm
and slide it
starving.
over. Come on, Scott, get it out.
We're all waiting on you, Scott.
Now I know what the stream delay is. You saw the break in the typing. I was like, oh.
Yep.
Intentionally leave the thermal paste old and so to
yeah.
collect all the... I guess, man.
Yeah, that was a thing.
You'd think you'd want better contact and
Yeah.
like minimal thermal paste, and whatever is in excess will be smushed out.
No, he's talking about leaving the tube.
In the tube.
Oh, in the tube. Okay, right.
So,
Yeah.
so it's closer
May-
to the entrance.
You gotta
Exit.
Yeah.
refer to... just misreference a couple of things in the description as laptops, then Paige will understand. It's like Marklar, but with laptop.
Hey, I've redone the thermal paste on all the laptops that I got, and actually the RX 570 it made a significant difference because after I removed all the crusty thermal pads and redid the thermal paste on the GPU and put it back, it's like, oh, the fans don't even spin up now. There's the tricks I know.
All right, beautiful people, we gotta bounce. I'll be back to party with you tomorrow. 7:30.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Love you.